Well, this action from the UK follows pressure from Lord Peter Hain, and you saw him there, the Bain whistleblower Athol Williams. He's a former partner of Bain Company, and joining us, the man who blew the whistle on Bain activities, Athol Williams from the UK. Thank you very much, Mr. Williams. Great to have you with us as always. Sure, you're very pleased, but are you surprised? Apparently you and Lord Peter Hain met with this minister, Rees-Mogg, late July. The next thing we have this announcement, and it is big. I know you hoped for action, but did you think something like this would ever come?
It really was a pleasant surprise for me, to be honest. I think it's a massive step forward in South Africa's new liberation struggle against corruption and state capture and these predatory companies. The minister, at the beginning of our meeting, the minister said the advice he's received is that he should take no action. And so wanted to give Lord Peter Hain and myself the chance to put our case forward. And really all I did is what I've been doing for the last 3 years, and what I did at the Zondo Commission was present the facts of the case. No spin, none of Bain's big, vague statements, just the facts of what they did, both in terms of their collusion with Jacob Zuma, but also their cover-up. And the minister was very interested to hear about the cover-up actions Bain had taken and who was involved.
So Bain apparently formally said none of its employees in London were involved in what was happening in South Africa. Was the minister interested in seeing if there were links between the bosses in London and employees in South Africa, and who knew what?
He was very keen on that exact question. And I was able to show him that there were at least 20 senior people within the Bain global system that had direct or different ranges of information about what happened in South Africa during state capture. And 6 of them, or 7 of them, were in the London office. I could also show the minister with facts that within the Bain system, there were 7 people, senior people, who were involved with SARS in particular, and 2 of those were in the London office. And so despite Bain's statements that no one involved in the South African operation or no one involved in SARS were in the London office, the facts I presented showed differently, and showed yet again that Bain was not being honest with the authorities in South Africa or in the UK.
And Bain presented one former partner, Vittorio Massone, to come and present his case. He then left the firm, and you could say he was scapegoated. They said it was him, he had left. But the people you're talking about, are there still people who should know what happened, who seemingly were involved and are within the Bain structure right now?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying that there were 60 Bain consultants that worked at SARS during that 2.5-year period. Some of them have left Bain, but many are still around. So they all have information. The person who ran the SARS project for Bain on a day-to-day basis was not Mr. Massone. It was another Bain partner who's now in one of the other offices. Massone's boss was in London at the time, and is still in London at the time. The head of finance for Bain in South Africa was sitting in London, working for the London office. These are all people who worked with Massone very closely. All the partners in the South African business, the senior people at Bain during those years, they all know exactly what was going on. So it's Massone's peers in South Africa, they knew what was going on. Massone's bosses in London and in Boston, they knew what was going on. And they're all still at Bain. And so this idea of Bain telling us that they've cleaned out the shop of all these rotten apples is complete nonsense. No one was fired for what happened in South Africa during state capture, not even Massone. Massone was paid to leave.
And the Nugent Commission said, I mean, why don't some of the partners, the other people involved, come and tell their story? So Bain has issued another pretty vague statement, again with denials. What do you make of this? Bain, this is what Bain says, it has apologized for the mistakes our South African office made during its work with SARS, and we repaid all fees from the work with interest. Bain South Africa did not act illegally at SARS or elsewhere, and no evidence to the contrary has been put forward. And by the way, they say they will talk to the minister about mistakes in his letter and possibly consider other options for a review.
Well, they made mistakes, really. The Zondo Commission said their behavior was unlawful. The Nugent Commission said it was a premeditated offense against SARS. The Zondo Commission also says that Bain colluded with Zuma in one of the most clear examples of state capture. So how are these mistakes? And Bain say they've apologized for these mistakes. You can't apologize for something that you haven't named. So until Bain makes full disclosure of what they actually did during the time, who they did it with, they cannot claim to have made amends for it or apologize for it. It's complete nonsensical. So what we're demanding is that the government of South Africa should blacklist Bain until they make this full disclosure and then make full amends. And the amends has got to be to the institutions they've damaged and the people they've harmed, because that's what's happened here. They haven't apologized. They must own up to the horrific things they did to damage our society, not this nonsense about mistakes. And this argument that they will cooperate, they've never cooperated. The Nugent Commission said they didn't cooperate. The Zondo Commission said they didn't cooperate. And this is exactly what I was able to share with Minister Rees-Mogg, of showing Bain's behavior, of how they hid information from me. They withheld witnesses from the Nugent Commission. They withheld documents from the Nugent Commission and from me. So that's why they concluded, the UK government, that Bain was guilty of grave professional misconduct. Because this is not a company by this behavior that has any integrity that you can then work with and trust.
Let's bring this home to South Africa. You say this is an embarrassment for the South African government. Firstly, Mr. Williams, Bain has told our reporters that it's not doing business with any government officers right now, but you do talk about Treasury. You've also mentioned Sasol. Just tell us exactly what you know about who Bain is doing business with in South Africa.
So I don't know as a fact right now today whether Bain is working with any public institutions, but that's not a requirement for the government to issue a ban, right? I think the government should issue the ban, blacklist them, whether they're working with him now or not. It's about the future that Bain can't work with them. In terms of companies Bain is working with, I've stated before that Bain is working with Sasol. Sasol has admitted that. Sasol is spending hundreds of millions of rand on Bain, basically propping Bain up in South Africa at a time when so much is known about Bain's atrocities and heinous crimes in our country. A company like Sasol has not even engaged with me to try and get the real facts, just like Business Leadership South Africa refused to engage with me about the facts. So these are companies who say they're against corruption, who say they act in the interest of South Africa. Yet here's an example where they seem to be embracing and endorsing one of the biggest attackers on our democratic institutions.
The UK minister apparently had to get wide legal advice before making a decision. I mean, do you think we have those legal tools? I remember the Auditor General's office issuing I guess a similar ban against KPMG, and that wasn't only after the Gupta scandal and after the KPMG report, but later after VBS. So there are tools at our disposal, seemingly.
Absolutely, there are tools at our disposal. I think the difference between what's happened in the UK and in South Africa is the political will to do something. I think in South Africa, we absolutely have the tools to do it. We've had the Nugent Commission report for 4 years now. My testimony to the Zondo Commission was 2 years ago. So we have the information, the same facts that everyone else looks at and makes the conclusion that Bain is not worthy of doing business with. Yet we lack the political will to do this. And I think that's where we've got to ask serious questions. We've got to ask the question, why is the South African representative of Bain, Norman Mbazima, on the board of the Reserve Bank? We've got to ask that question. We've then got to ask companies like Sasol and the others who are doing business with Bain, why is that the case? And I think there are a lot of very sinister things going on, which is why Bain is so desperate to keep this lid on their involvement in state capture. Because recall, I've been saying it's not just SARS, it's Telkom, the PIC, the IDC, DBSA, and that's what the Zondo Commission has now said we've got to investigate so we can understand what happened there. But I know that once we lift that lid, a lot more names are going to come out, and this is why people are propping Bain up and protecting them.
The Financial Times is reporting that Bain was awarded public sector contracts in the UK worth up to £63 million since 2018. So no doubt it's going to hurt Bain in the UK. There's talk of the US, Lord Peter Hain, saying he really wants the US to follow suit. What are the chances of that?
I think there are good chances as long as we can get the facts before the decision makers. What I've discovered, which was the case in the UK, it was really hard to get the facts before the decision makers because the UK government engaged with Bain a number of times on numerous occasions to collect facts. And only right at the death did they come to us to get counterfacts or an alternate version of what Bain was spinning. And we see how quickly they were able to make a decision when they got the real facts. So our campaign now of going to the US and going to South Africa is to at least try and get engagement with us so we can present the facts of what happened. And then I'm absolutely confident that any reasonable person who looks at the facts would come to the same conclusion Judge Nugent, Judge Zondo, and the UK government came to, which is that Bain have acted unethically, there's been professional misconduct, they've broken South African procurement rules, they've colluded with state capture, and they should face those consequences.
Mr. Williams, before we let you go, if you don't mind, I'd like to inquire about your personal situation. You have told us before you fled to the UK. You were concerned about your safety here in South Africa because you blew the whistle. I'm sure your lobbying work sounds rewarding. I don't know if you're receiving any sort of payment. Have your circumstances changed? And do you feel there's a changing attitude at all? We were notified there was a Whistleblower Solidarity Appreciation Day that was the 30th of July. What have you been involved in sort of to put whistleblowers in the spotlight in South Africa?
There's been no change to my circumstance. Everything I've been doing, even while I'm in the UK, is entirely at my expense with my own initiative. I've got no support, no payment, not a cent from anyone. And for me, that is a shame on South African institutions and business as well. Through this effort, we are showing the value of whistleblowers to South Africa. It's not just that I blew the whistle and now I've got on with my life. Not only am I trying to rebuild my life, I'm continuing to be an activist to try and get the right change for justice in our country. If that isn't someone worthy of our institutions in South Africa supporting, then I'm not sure what is. I've been cynically saying maybe I should go and play soccer or go do swimming because then we seem to rally around those people who make our country proud. I'm wanting to make our country proud by standing up for justice and fighting against corruption. But I haven't had a single reply to my email to the presidency. I've written to company after company, the CEO, chairman, and not a single one has stepped forward to even offer a statement of support or any financial help. And I find that really shocking. But it's not going to stop my work. I am committed to our country and our democratic ideals and our democratic institutions. So I'll keep going. I'll do my part. I'm hoping South Africa will do its part in this as well.
All right. Thank you very much for your time this late afternoon. That was whistleblower former Bain partner Athol Williams.